I slept at my friend's house, and we weren't allowed to leave the bedroom after 9 p.m. I soon found out why. We had been friends for 13 years. And in those years, I had not once slept at his house. So, with a sudden invite, I asked. I settled the duffel on my shoulder, and he held the door. "My parents are going out," he said, and the words came out of him in a rush. "Figured it's about time you saw my humble abode." The house was not a humble abode. It was a great white clapboard house that stood on the land as if it had been there forever, and the town had grown around it. Old oaks stood guard over the grounds, and their shadows fell across the yard. Inside the house there was a smell of old wood, and polish and something more besides, a smell like turned earth after rain. His mother was a woman built of small bones, and she carried a frantic smile that did not touch her eyes. She moved about the dim rooms with a nervous energy, asking of drinks and of snacks. His father sat in a leather chair, and he did not speak. He was a large man, whose eyes were dark and still, and they followed us as we passed. I heard his mother whisper words to him, urgent and low, but I could not make them out. At 7 o'clock his parents left. "So, what's the plan?" I asked. I dropped my bag on the floor of his room. The room was a small island of the ordinary in that house, with its posters and its rumpled bed and the console set before the television. It was the only place that did not feel as if it belonged to the dead. Pizza, video games, the usual. Leo said. He knelt and woke the machine. He moved with a forced calm, but I saw the cording in his neck. We eat the pizza and play the games, and for a time I did not think of the house, or of the silence that lay coiled in its other rooms. For a time it was only the two of us, and the sounds from the screen. Then near to 9 he paused the game. "Hey, man," he said. He would not look at me, but worked the controller in his hands. "There's just one weird rule my parents have." "Weird rule?" "Yeah." He raised his head, and his eyes were serious as a stone. "After 9 p.m., we have to be in here, in the bedroom, and we can't leave. Not for anything, not for the bathroom, not for a drink, nothing. The door stays closed until sunrise." I stared at his face and looked for the jest that was not there. "You're kidding." "Right. What if I have veto P?" "P now," he said. His voice was flat. He gestured with his chin to an empty bottle on his desk. "And after 9, you use that." The laugh I had in my throat died there. "Dude, that's insane." "Why?" He shrugged his shoulders. But the motion was counterfeit. "They're just super weird about security. Old house, you know, they think it's drafty." Drafty? I knew he was lying. I just didn't know why. Downstairs a clock began to chime the hour, and his head snapped toward the door. Bong, bong, bong. He was on his feet before the 9th bell had sounded its note. He crossed the room and closed the door. He slid a heavy bolt of steel into its housing, and the sound it made was final. "There," he said. A sweat had bloomed on his brow, and he breathed out the word. "We're good." "Leo, what the hell is going on?" I demanded. "Nothing, man. Just a weird rule," he said. He would not look at the door. He turned up the sound of the game until it was a roar in that small room. But I did not see the game. I saw only the bolted door, and I felt a coldness take root in my gut. The house was quiet again, but it was not the same quiet. This was a listening quiet, a waiting quiet. And in the dark heart of that house something waited. And we were locked in that room, and waiting with it. An hour passed, and there was no sound from the house. The fear went out of Leo slowly, and he played the game with a faint calm that did not sit right on him. We played on in that silence, and a vexation grew in me at the foolishness of it all. "You really need to tell your parents. This is a certifiable way to raise a serial killer," I said. He gave back a fake smile. "Tell me about it." Then came a sound from the rooms below. It was a soft and measured thumping on the boards of the main hall. "What's that?" I whispered. Leo played on. He stared at the screen, and his fingers worked the buttons as if he did not hear. "It's nothing. House settling. That's not the house settling, Leo." The sound ceased. In the quiet, I could hear the blood in my own ears. Then there came a new sound, which was a dragging sound. A scraping of some great weight across the wood floor beneath us as of a heavy thing with broken feet. I muted the television. Okay, that's definitely not the house, I said. Leo set the controller down upon the carpet. His face was pale in the shifting light of the screen. "Just ignore it. Liam, please, it goes away if you ignore it." "What? What is it? What goes away?" Before he could answer, it spoke. The voice came from the hallway. Faint at first, on the other side of our door. "Leo, honey, I did not move." The voice was his mother's voice. "Leo, sweetheart, your father and I came home early. I brought you boys some warm cookies. Open the door." I looked to Leo and saw a boy cast in tallow. He stared at the door as if it were the gate of hell itself, and he raised a trembling finger to his lips and shook his head. "Leo, that's your mom," I whispered. "Don't be silly, sweetie, we're inside." The voice said it was just outside the door now. "I just baked your favorites. Chocolate chip, they're getting cold." The scraping from below had stopped. There was only the sweet persuasion of that voice in the silent house. But the voice was wrong. There was a terrible perfection in its sound, like a memory of a voice and not the voice itself. Then came the knocking. It was a soft and wet sound on the far side of the door, as if a piece of meat were striking the wood. "Leo, Liam, are you boys all right in there? You're being awfully quiet." "Leo," I mouthed, but no sound came. He sat upon the floor like a man made of stone, his eyes wide with a plea that had no words. He looked like something trapped. The knob of the door turned, once to the left and once to the right. Then it began to rattle in its fitting with a growing violence. A great blow struck the door, and the frame of it groaned in the wall. I scrambled away from it on my hands and feet until my back was against the far wall of the room. The voice changed. It spoke again, and the voice was a ruin, a low and guttural thing that gurgled in its throat. "I know you're in there.